Hello students, welcome to the pole science of class 10, and today we will proceed discussing about the questions and answers from the chapter power sharing. And in the previous class we discussed about power sharing, then ethnic composition of the population of Belgium. Then we also read about what are the factors which led to the differences of the people. After that we discussed about what is community government, and before that we discussed about how was the difference between different ethnic groups of people in Belgium and what were the positive effects of power sharing arrangements in Belgium. So today we will proceed with question number 6, that is, what is community government? Explain. So let us proceed then. So apart from the central and state government, there is a third kind of government. This community government is elected by people belonging to one language community, that is Dutch, French and German speaking, no matter where they live. The government has the power regarding cultural, educational and language related issues. Community government is the best example of power sharing between different social groups. That means what? In Belgium there is a third type of government which is known as community government. And how this community government is elected? Suppose you assume that in the whole Belgium, no matter wherever the Dutch people are living, they can cast their vote and they can elect their own community government. Suppose the Dutch living in Belgium can also elect their community government, or in the other places where they live. The place does not matter. That means the Dutch people living anywhere in Belgium will elect their own community government, which is the Dutch community government. In the same way, the French and the German speaking people also elect their own community government. This government has the power regarding cultural, educational and language related issues. That means when this community government is elected, they have the power related to three sectors, that is to the cultural fields, to the educational field and to the language field. That means if any issues are there related to culture, education and language, all this will be sorted out. And community government is the best example of power sharing between different social groups. So as in India we have central and state government, along with that smaller constituent units are there in the form of local level of government. But in Belgium, these smaller constituent units is known as the community government. After that, question number 7, what is majoritarianism? Explain the majoritarian policy followed by the Sinhalas or Sri Lankan government. Here it will be Sinhalas, S-I-N-H-A-L-A-S-A, Sinhala or Sri Lankan government. So about the first part, what is majoritarianism? A belief that the majority community should be able to rule a country whichever way it wants, by disregarding the wishes or needs of the minority. That means in case of Sri Lanka, the process of majoritarianism was that where the Sinhala people, who were 74% in the country, through that ratio only they made the law according to their own benefits. And on the other hand, what they disregarded the wishes also and the needs of the minority also. They did not care about the wishes and the needs of the minorities in Sri Lanka, that is the Christians and the Tamils, be it the Sri Lankan Tamils or the Indian Tamils. Explain the majoritarian policy followed by the Sinhala or Sri Lankan government. So regarding majoritarian policy, in 1956 an act was passed to recognize Sinhala as the official language, thus disregarding Tamil. Clear? That means Sinhala was made the only official language. When they knew that three languages are there, or three kinds of community are living in Sri Lanka, but then also based on their majority of 74%, the Sinhala was made the official language. After that, when this act was passed, apart from making Sinhala as the official language, the government followed preferential policies that favored Sinhala applicants for university positions and government jobs. And regarding jobs also and the university post also, whatever the university post and government jobs were there, all these were given to the Sinhala community only, or the people of Sinhala community. Preference were given. Preference means almost it was done that all these university positions and government jobs would be allotted for them. After that, a new constitution stipulated that the state shall protect and foster Buddhism. So regarding the majoritarian policy followed by the Sinhala or the Sri Lankan government, three things they did. The first was to make Sinhala as the official language. The second was to make a policy in which all the university positions and the government jobs were given preference to the Sinhala applicants only. And third, a new constitution was also amended in which the state or their constitutions shall only protect and foster Buddhism. That means apart from Buddhism, none of the language will be fostered or protected. Clear? Now next question, explain the population composition of Sri Lanka. So regarding answer, Sri Lanka is an island nation. Just a few kilometers off the southern coast of Tamil Nadu, Sri Lanka has about 2 crore people, about the same in Haryana. Like other nations in the South Asian region, Sri Lanka has a diverse population. The major social groups are the Sinhala speakers 74% and Tamil speakers 18%. And along with that, Christians are also there. You can add this, that 7% of Christians are also there. So regarding its location, it is an island nation just a few kilometers off the southern coast of Tamil Nadu. That means near to Tamil Nadu coast, to the southernmost. About population, it is almost 2 crore, as the same as of Haryana, state of Haryana. And about its composition, it has a diverse population. The Sinhala speakers are 74%, Tamil speakers are 18%, and the Christians who speak both Buddhist and Tamil are 7%. After that, among Tamils there are two subgroups. Tamil natives of the country are called Sri Lankan Tamils, that is 13%. The rest, whose forefathers came from India as plantation workers during colonial period, are called Indian Tamils. So Sri Lankan Tamils are concentrated in the north and east of the country. Clear? So when we talk about the Tamils, that is Sri Lankan Tamils, who are 18%, out of that the native Sri Lankans, that means who are born and brought up in Sri Lanka only, they are called Sri Lankan Tamils, and they are 13% in ratio. And the remaining 5% are known as Indian Tamils, and Indian Tamils can be regarded as what? The forefathers from India who came to Sri Lanka or who had gone to Sri Lanka as a plantation worker. They are known as Indian Tamils, and they are 5% overall of population in Sri Lanka. And about Sri Lankan Tamils, they are concentrated in the northern and eastern parts of the country. That means if there are 4 parts, suppose east, west, north and south, that means these are only applicable. The Tamil, Sri Lankan Tamils are only a majority in the northern and eastern part of the country. So that's why, if you remember, when they protested, they demanded a separate country, especially for the Sri Lankan Tamils, basically in the northern and eastern part of the country. Now number 3, most of the Sinhala speaking people are Buddhist, while most of the Tamils are Hindus and Muslims. These are about 7% who are both Tamil and Sinhala. That means they speak Buddhist also and they speak Tamil also. Clear? After that, question number 9, what was the reaction of the minority Tamil population to the majoritarian measures adopted by the Sinhala government? What was the outcome? So question is that when the Tamil population, as they are minority, when the majoritarian policy was followed, so what was the reaction of the minority Tamil population, be it Sri Lankan Tamil or Indian Tamil, and what was the outcome? That means what was the result or effect? So regarding answer, the Tamil Sri Lankans felt alienated due to the majoritarian policy followed by the Sri Lankan government. They felt that none of the major political parties led by Buddhist Sinhala leaders were sensitive to their language. and culture. They felt that the constitution and government policy denied them equal political rights, discriminated against them in getting jobs and other opportunities, and ignored their interest. So when majoritarian policy was passed actually, then the Sri Lankan Tamils felt as outsiders being in their own country. Why they feel outsiders? Because all the benefits were given to the Sinhala language, be it university post or government jobs, be it the Sinhala as the official language, or be it an act which actually protected and secured or encouraged to promote the Buddhist language only. So in that case, the Sri Lankan Tamils were left alienated at that time because they were not given equal political rights also, and regarding the language, that was also not made the official language, and regarding the vacancies in the government jobs and university posts, that was also for the Sinhalas people. So all these led to what? Led to a sense of feeling of alienation among the Sri Lankan Tamils. So what was the outcome then? As a result, the relation between the Sinhala and Tamil communities strained over time. The Sri Lankan Tamils launched parties and struggled for the recognition of Tamil as an official language, for regional autonomy, that is independence, and equality of opportunity in securing education and jobs. But their demand for more autonomy to provinces populated by Tamils was repeatedly denied. Clear? So as a result, you can see here that the outcome was very bad actually, because the relationship between both the Tamil and the Sinhalas became bad. They started forming party. After forming party, they start protesting, and they demanded their own independent nation. That was basically in the northern and eastern parts, because they were the majority. After that, by 1980, several political organizations were formed demanding an independent Tamil Elam state in northern and eastern parts. As I have told you earlier, that they demanded, after forming party, starting protesting, and after that they demanded that by 1980 they demanded an independent state in the northern and eastern parts of the Sri Lanka, because of the reason that the Sri Lankan Tamils were majority in these areas. And lastly, the distrust between the two communities turned into widespread conflict. It soon turned out to be a civil war in which thousands of people from both communities were killed. Many families were forced to leave the country as refugees, and many more lost their livelihoods. Sri Lanka's excellent record of economic development, education and health suffered serious setback. The civil war has caused a terrible setback to the social, cultural and economic life of the country. So as a result, what happened? After protesting, after demanding separate state, then started a kind of civil war between the government sides and the Tamils. And in this civil war, many people lost their lives. Thousands of people were forced to leave the country and live as a refugee. Apart from that, before this civil war, everything was excellent in terms of economic development, education and health. These three things were very excellent, because economically they were very developed before the civil war. The education and healthcare facilities were also good, but due to this civil war, all this excellent, whatever the record was there regarding economic development, education and health, suffered serious setback. So the civil war has caused a terrible setback to the social, cultural and economic life of the country. So as a result, when the economic development, the education and healthcare facilities suffered setback, then as a result, what happened? It actually affected the social, cultural and economic life of the country. So with this, I will wind up today's discussions based on question and answer. So in the next class, we will start discussing about question number 10. I hope that today's topic is clear to you, and please make a note of all these questions and answers. Thank you.